Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here as always with Coach Will Morrill. This week we're going to dive into some current events. I think Will's going to get the ball rolling on this past weekend's UFC fights. I'm going to talk about some events that went down this weekend, specifically my time out in Grand Rapids, Michigan at Daniel Gracie Grand Rapids. And then we're going to wrap it up with some Super Bowl talk.
Got it.
All right, fire down.
All right, so we're going to start talking about the UFC a little bit this past weekend. And as usual, we're not going to talk about the whole thing. We're not here to talk about like results and everything. We're going to talk about two fights, and I got two specific things to ask Mike because you did not see them, correct?
I did not watch the fights.
Okay,
I was too busy basking in my glory.
Running such a great seminar.
Yeah.
All right, so first fight we're going to talk about, Dan Ige against Andre Fili.
Okay.
All right. Both fighters that I really like.
I really like Andre Fili.
Yeah, me too. I didn't train like with him, but I trained like in the same room as him out at CSA, and he's just like his vibe. He just seems like a real cool dude. You know what I mean?
I like the like personality he presents.
Mm-hmm.
It seems very genuine, and from people I know who know him, they also
Say that he's cool.
say that like that's him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
So unfortunately, he lost this weekend.
Oh no! Cancel this.
Yeah,
Cancel the
so,
episode.
he got knocked out with a gigantic right hand, pretty much like halfway through the first round. And what's interesting about this fight, what I really want to talk about, is apparently Dan and Andre like knew each other and were like friendly, and they had trained together before.
Okay.
And apparently, if I remember correctly, Ige's fight fell through, and Andre was like, "Hey, get me in there." And so he kind of felt like a little bit of a way, like, yo, why is my dude trying to like fight me? You know what I mean?
Oh, I
and,
would feel a type of
yeah,
way.
for sure. And apparently Andre afterwards, like, he heard him saying, he was like, hey man, like it's nothing personal. Like I just had an opportunity and I had to take it, you know, that kind of thing. But what is interesting and what I want to ask you about is
That would tell me that Andre felt like he got the better of the training.
exactly.
I wouldn't be barking up a tree that I was falling down earlier.
Exactly. So apparently Andre, you know, felt like he was doing better, but this is what they were talking about like during the broadcast. Like DC was like, oh yeah, you know, sparring isn't fighting, you know, and
It's
Ige
not.
is a power puncher, so
Right.
his style specifically is not the same in a fight,
Right.
And that's exactly what happened.
Right. We talked about that with like, you know, obviously a much lower level for now, but Will Moriarty, how like maybe his sparring doesn't like accurately display his fights. You know, we spoke with him because like in sparring he's a great training partner. So he's definitely pulling some shots that allow people to like push through certain things that likely wouldn't have been pushed through.
Especially like a
with
clean
some heat.
overhand, you know, like he's like, oh, I'm gonna pull this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those specific shots that change fights.
Yeah.
You know, so I get. Let's start here. Have you had any experience like training with someone before you fought them?
No.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Have you ever fought the same guy twice?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
I only had it happen one time. I fought the same guy 3 times.
I've wrestled the same person a bunch.
Okay. Have you ever wrestled against someone that you like trained with pretty like?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's?
It's just different though.
It is different, but like mentally, what's going on? Like, are you? Well, let me ask you this: did you wrestle against someone that you were beating in practice, or?
Yeah. Both sides.
Now, does that give you insane confidence when you have beaten that guy in practice?
No, less so.
Really?
Yeah. So like, you know, some examples that I would think back to, you know, I would feel like maybe more pressure because like this is somebody I beat in practice, and like I would feel the same way. Like maybe it'd be easier for me to relate it to like Jiu Jitsu right now, right? Like if, you know, a teammate of mine, like if we were to meet in the finals of a tournament, like probably not, we might not close out, right? Like we're kind of like a little bit anti-close-out, pending what the tournament means and like risk of injury and stuff. Like if it's like, you know, maybe like a smaller tournament, it's like, why are we going to risk getting injured here?
Right. Exactly.
But at a major, we're not going to close out. We're going to wrestle this.
Yeah.
You know? And being the one who wins in practice, I would feel like the pressure that I had to win here. You know, I couldn't like go back and be like, oh, like I lost.
See, that's interesting. I was thinking the opposite, but now I'm just.
I would almost feel better if I was losing in practice.
Right.
I would feel better in a sense that like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna lose. Like it's okay to lose.
It's
I always
free.
lose. Yeah, I'd feel free.
That just reminded me, dude. I completely forgot about this when I was like I don't know, 14, 15, something like that. There was a kid that I trained with, and he'd been like I don't know, whatever, like a red belt or whatever it was for like a while.
Yeah.
And I had like just got my red belt, and I had to go against him in a tournament. And like, I didn't do badly in the gym against him, but like he would win. And I just went in, and again, it's so freeing. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, what? Okay, so I lose. Like, everyone expects me to lose.
Yeah.
Or I can just like perform, and I did. I smashed him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely forgot about that till just now.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been like one of those things that I've always tried to chase. That feeling of that. Like, you know, it's like, oh man, like, don't be result driven, be like,
Right.
you know, process driven, and things like that is like the result, because that frees you up to compete like that. And nothing frees you up more than that, than knowing you're supposed to lose, and everybody you know who knows you guys knows you're supposed to lose.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, so I go and lose like I was supposed to.
That's weird though, because I'm thinking like MMA. Like, if I was training with a guy and I was like, dude, I'm
There
getting
is
better.
levels to it.
Yeah.
There's levels to it.
I'm just trying to get in Andre's head. Why did Andre ask for that fight? You know what I mean? Do you think it was coaches were like, hey, we saw what happened in sparring? Do you think he was like, I think I got it? Do you think he was like, I just need a fight? You know, he was coming off of another fight like 8 weeks ago or something like that.
Yeah, no, I think he thought he had it. I would guess. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not in his situation, but my gut would tell me that he thought he had this. You know?
And do you think it is like, I think it is exactly what they said on the broadcast. I think that he was probably outpointing him in sparring.
Yeah.
And Ige was being really cool and everything, and, you know, pulling some power. And then when the power wasn't pulled, it changed things.
Yeah. Also, how did the fight go up until the knockout?
You know, relatively
When
even.
did the knockout happen?
It was like pretty much halfway between, or in the first round.
Oh, so early. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, you know, like people get knocked out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So like, yeah, I don't even know like if you can really gauge. What would you say how the first 2 minutes went?
It's hard to say. And
It's hard to
also,
really
like,
gauge how a whole fight's going to go off the first 2 minutes unless they're like.
and also it's one of those things where, like, again,
Stunting.
like fights are at night, and like, you know, I'm not like paying that close. You know, I'm trying to like enjoy, so it's hard for me to like remember. From what I remember if I do remember correctly though, is like a fair amount of disengagements. Like, I'm gonna go like feeling out, you know.
Yeah.
And not a ton of action.
Okay.
And then Ige just timed it perfectly. Andre was stepping in and just boom, big
Yeah.
overhand.
So maybe had that shot not landed, maybe it actually has nothing to do with sparring. Like
Yeah.
maybe Andre is better and like long term and like would have won that fight, but sometimes you just get knocked out.
yeah.
You know, sometimes the punch lands.
Yeah, you make a mistake in the wrong time. You know what's crazy? Think about, like, all right, how many times have you been punched in the head in your life? Like a bazillion, right? How many times have you even been knocked down from a punch?
Less than 5.
Yeah, I think I've only been knocked down once.
In practice, I'm not recalling ever being knocked down.
I've never been knocked down in a fight. I think I got
And
knocked down once ever in practice.
I got knocked down twice in fights. So
What fights?
both amateurs.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, getting back to it though. So, like, think about the amount of punches you've gotten hit with, and some of them are hard too. Some of them are like on the chin, and you're
Yeah.
like, yo, this could have done damage. And sometimes it just doesn't, you
Right.
know? And sometimes it does. So,
Yeah.
you know, it could be a freak thing. Yeah, I think we're kind of like on the same boat. I think exactly what they said happened is that he beat him in sparring, and, you know, or outpointed him in sparring, and was like, this is going to translate to a fight, and it just didn't.
Yeah, but like I don't know if it just didn't. Like, I mean, obviously it just didn't, but I don't know if that's like how it was gonna go. I mean, like, okay, like somebody who you're training with, like, are you like, oh, I'm beating you 10 out of 10 times? Am I beating you 20 out of 20? Or am I beating you 19 out of 20? Right? Like,
Right.
okay, like let's say like I'm doing a match against like, let's say like Vince, right? Like I'm probably gonna beat Vince, you know, like let's just call it 4 out of 5 times. Well, one time he's going to win. It was that time, you know? So, like, it could have been that as well. I feel like we don't have enough data points to nail down the real reason, but we can speculate. And, like, I feel like the way that you're speculating could lead to making sense, and the way that I'm speculating could lead to making
for
sense
sure.
as well.
So, and also what's interesting about that too is like, just imagine, like, think about like when other guys come to our gym, right? And like they've sparred with some of our guys. How many rounds do you think they got together? You know what I mean? Like, imagine they only cross paths one time. They're training, and he's just like, hey, how's it going? Let's get a round in. The first time you spar with someone like you don't know,
Yeah.
at least for me, I'm going extra light. You know what I mean?
yeah, there's that like
Super like respectful, like
Yeah.
you know, especially if you go to someone else's gym, like I'm not gonna come in and just start throwing down. You know,
right,
what I mean?
yeah.
So we have no idea how that happened, how many rounds they did together.
Yeah.
Because again, if they did like 50 rounds together over the course of months, then it's like, oh, he probably had an educated guess.
good
But
read.
You might be right. Like maybe there's just like not enough data for them to have made a good decision. They just
Well,
were going off of what they had.
I'm saying there's not enough data for us.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like,
I get what you're saying.
like would Andre say that like, okay, like maybe he would be like, oh yeah, I would win that fight 9 out of 10 times. Well, this was the one.
Right.
You know, maybe that, I'm not saying that's the case, but
Right,
maybe
right.
that's the case.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And it's just like, sometimes you just get knocked out, dude.
It happens.
Right? Like if I were to use jiu-jitsu as like, something to compare it to, right? Like almost everybody I train with has submitted me. You know what I mean? So what if that submission happened in a match?
Yeah.
Even the guys that like maybe I have out-submitted 100 to 1.
I was gonna say, you and me. How many
Yeah.
times have I tapped you in my life? Like
Handful, right?
maybe if I'm
Yeah.
lucky. How many times have you tapped me?
More than a handful.
Many hundreds of times more than a handful.
Yeah, right? Like it's the same with me and Warren, right? Like I've probably submitted Warren like literally less than 20 times. He's probably submitted me like it might not be an exaggeration to say 2,000 times.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is wild.
Yeah, hold on.
Might have to start making a comeback.
Dude, what happened to your pop filter?
What?
Your pop filter's gone.
No, it's inside my shirt.
Oh.
'Cause
I got you. I thought that was the other side.
it's too drastically different than my shirt.
Your voice is too powerful. I had to get a filter.
So I put it inside my shirt when I was mic'd up for practice,
Uh-huh.
and I felt like you could hear me still very well. So well that I was like, next time I'm going to put it on the back of my collar. So I think.
Also, that is one thing that people tell me. They're like, dude, you got to talk louder. Like, you can't hear you over mic. I'm like, that's just how
this
I talk,
one
dude.
you'll be able to hear because
Yeah, it
like
should
I
even
can't
out a
talk.
little bit, yeah.
Well, and like I'm not.
Yeah. Got a little, yeah.
Yeah, I got a little something going on.
Oh.
Got that Michigander in me.
All right. You got anything else to talk about with anything just about like fighting people you train with?
No, I
Yeah.
think like
Then we kind
covered
of
pretty
talked
good.
about it a little bit. All right.
Run me on this Joey Pfeiffer fight.
Okay, so
Ed Hermanson.
Joe Pfeiffer and not Ed Hermanson, Jack Hermanson.
Jack
He's the Swede who
Yeah.
lives in
Yeah, I know he is.
Norway. So interesting fight. I was sure that Joe Pfeiffer.
It's
was
Ed
gonna
Herman.
crush
It's not
him.
even Ed Hermanson. It's Ed Herman.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you know, did all kinds of.
fair. They're both middleweights.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom, nailed it.
But you know, you put son on the end, and you got to do Scandinavian.
Dude,
which
people,
is just-
how many times have people been like Wilkinson to me? Like, you know how many times that happens
But you
all the
look
time.
Scandinavian, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't know. I
that's
just
what
like
they
it always
do.
caught me off guard because it like never happened until I was like in my 30s, and then I was like, yo. So it catches you off guard when you live your whole life and no one's ever messed up your last name.
Yeah, and then they're
and it
just
only
like
happens
Wilkinson.
out of town because like
Oh,
there's
yeah,
so
'cause-
much Wilkins around
Right.
Pittsburgh, Wilkins Township. Every neighborhood's got a Wilkins Avenue,
Yep,
so
yep.
Wilkins are very common.
Well,
common
Wilkinson
name.
makes sense, especially looking Scandinavian, because that's what they do. You know, they take
Yeah,
your first name and then add son, and boom, that's what it is. But anyways, so yeah, I was sure Joe Pfeiffer was going to win. He just looked like confident and like big.
I didn't watch the fight, but I was hoping Joe Pfeiffer would win.
Dude, he is like real wide, and I think that has a lot to do with punch power, because people talk about like, oh, your arm is like this long or whatever, but think about it, that's not like the point of rotation, right? The point of rotation is your spine. So
Yeah,
how
yeah,
much time space is there from your knuckles to your spine? You know what I mean? And, like,
Well, that's why they don't measure your wingspan
Right.
from your shoulder.
exactly.
You know, like if you look at my wingspan, right? Like if I stand next to somebody, so I got a 70.5-inch wingspan, right? Other people have 70.5-inch wingspans, but they have longer arms than
Right, exactly.
because I've got so much across my shoulders, you know, and that's part of your wingspan.
And that's why I think that's a really important part of being able to create power. I think that's one of the reasons why like Conor McGregor is such like a crazy heavy.
You know what I
hitter.
think is like super important? Like one of the things that I noticed and like tried to like copy from Conor McGregor as far as like physical attribute was like a better thoracic rotation. You know what I mean? And like I felt like that's like held me
Oh, yeah.
like a lack of that like limited my like left cross.
Dude, that's why a lot of fighters.
I would see like Carter's like left cross like if you would like slow it down, dude, he'd be fully
Yeah.
like his front shoulders pointing behind him, back shoulders, like he
Yup.
just a great thoracic rotation while still maintaining like obviously.
Dude, And you know what's crazy about Connor
good base.
is like everything that he does makes for like crazy power, right? He's naturally super fast twitch. He exactly like you said, he has that great rotation ability, and he does rotate. A lot of guys when they throw their rear hand, in Connor's case it'd be this hand, they don't move the front shoulder, and it looks really awkward. Like you said, he yanks that all the way back, and then the last piece of the puzzle. Dude, his weight shift is insane. Like so much that he throws himself off balance with it from time to time. But like, if it lands,
Yeah.
it was worth it.
And he's able to recover.
Right. Yeah. So, but anyways, so Pfeiffer, just like looking at him, I was like, dude,
You know he cracks.
you know he cracks. Exactly.
Well, do you know beyond that, that like punch machine they have at the PI, he has the record.
Exactly.
He beat Ngannou's record.
Right. So
like 3 times, and they were like, oh, something must be wrong with the machine.
yeah, and he's just like, no, I'm just a beast.
Yeah.
How crazy is it? It wasn't even a heavyweight who did it.
Yeah, he's a middleweight. I learned that because Sean Brady was on Rogan, and they were talking about it, and Sean Brady was like, Joey hits harder than anybody. Yeah,
I could see that because they train together. But
Yeah.
so yeah, all you see all those physical aspects. Also like a big like a thick upper back. I think that helps a lot too. Like you look at like Tommy Hearns, even though he's like real skinny, his upper back is like kind of thick and stuff. So I'm like, dude, I think, and Jack Hermansson's been kind of like good and bad. You know what I mean? Like he's beat some guys and I'm like, oh, you're legit. And then he's also lost to some guys and I'm like, oh, you're maybe, middle of the pack or whatever. So you don't know what you're getting with him, but I was like, dude, I think Pfeiffer's going to smash this dude.
So tell me how it went, man.
So first 2 rounds is mostly Pfeiffer pressure.
It was a 5-round fight because it was
5-round fight, main event. First 2 rounds, Pfeiffer's walking forward and just crushing 1-2s. And like Hermansson would like shell.
Is Pfeiffer a southpaw? Or is he orthodox?
No.
He's orthodox.
He was
okay.
ortho. Oh God, now you got me thinking he wasn't.
It doesn't really
I'm pretty
matter.
sure
Don't
he
worry
is.
about that. I saw a video of him like walk off, knock out amateurs, PA amateurs,
Oh,
like
with the
shin
shins?
guarded up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that. The memory is weird though. Like you just said that, like, is he southpaw? And I was like, no. And I think about it, I was like, you could convince me he was. But anyways, it doesn't really matter for this purpose. He's just pressuring. He's landing these crazy 1-2s. And even though like Hermansson's shelling, he's getting launched back. Like it's
like the shell's
absurd.
working, like he's hitting the shell and he's just moving his body anyhow.
It's insane how hard
That's
this
so
dude hits.
sick.
Like shocking how hard. And like when you can hear it and you're like, dude.
Yeah, you ever been like hit with a hook in the arm and it like just shivered your body?
Yes.
And you're like, yo,
Yes.
if that hits me, I'm done.
Yeah. Especially if it hits, like you said, an arm, a shoulder, a shell, and you're like, dude, I can't eat
Yeah,
that.
it just shifts your body and you're
Dude,
like,
also,
oh.
this is related. I remember like when I was fighting, like sometimes dudes would hit that hard, or you'd see a fight where a guy hits that hard, and you'd be like, wow, that's crazy. But like, I think I'd be able to deal with it. I'd be able to do this, this, and this. And even if I ate it, like, dude, whatever, I just eat it. Now when I see that, I'm like, dude, if that guy hit me, I would die. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you ever fight that guy? But that's just us getting removed from fighting.
Wow.
But anyway, so that's pretty much what it is. The first 2 rounds, it's just him firing down, and then Hermansson starts like getting his jab off, interrupting punches. Pfeiffer starts like, you can tell he's fast twitch dude. You can tell that's starting to decline a little bit in the 3rd round, and Hermansson starts like, hitting shots. He starts like mixing things up, and he takes over and wins the next 3. So, overall, not like the most remarkable fight in the world. But here's what I want to ask you about, because I think on the broadcast they were talking about like, oh, like he's using his experience, and that's one of those things that people talk about, and I think there's value in that, but I think it's also very much oversimplifying, something that's a little bit more complex. In your mind, what does that mean when someone's like, oh, this guy's using his experience?
Just like playing like the longer game. Like just like playing like the rules of the game better.
Also, this is important, I think this is going to relate to what you're talking about, is I believe that's the first time in Pfeiffer's pro career he's been even into the 3rd round, I think. And or maybe he did one other time. And I believe it was definitely his first 5-rounder, whereas Jack Hermansson has done 5-rounders before.
Yeah, so there's a lot of experience there, and like, just literally by math, a round means less.
Yeah.
In 5 rounds, you know what I mean? And it's something actually I like can relate to, because when I had my first 5-round fight was the CFFC title fight, and one of my downfalls in that fight was feeling like I needed to win every round, right? So when like I started to feel like maybe like I was a little behind in the first, or that it was too close for comfort, like forcing a takedown and stuff, Where like, like the way that Hermanson played this was like, he knew that like one round, like he felt as if the later rounds were the lower hanging fruit. So let's get to them.
And especially someone who is a fast starter like that,
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta weather the storm.
Yeah.
I think also an important thing with being a vet like that is he might have not ever felt power like Pfeiffer. Like I think Pfeiffer's one of those dudes where like he's special. You know what I mean? Like he really hits hard. But I'm sure Hermanson has sparred with heavyweights and all kinds of other talented guys, and he's like, this isn't the first time I've been hit hard. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I know I can deal with this. I'm not gonna freak out. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna get off my game plan and do something ridiculous, take a bad shot or something. Also, he was stuffing Pfeiffer's shots too the whole time. I was kind of like surprised by that.
Oh wow.
And yeah, there were a couple times Pfeiffer like he would like get into a single leg and he would go to lift, and I was like, oh, he might be able to crack down here, and then Hermanson's just out. But yeah, I think there's two important things. I think one is what you were getting at, pace. Two is again like not freaking out, because like I've been in the same situation. I'm in a fight, some dude starts bombing on me, and I'm like, oh, I gotta steal it back, and then you go and do something reckless, and then you get hit even harder, and you're like, oh, that was dumb. Like,
Yeah.
stuck to what I'm good at, Are there any other attributes that you think can like be directly related to like the having or using your experience type of like quote?
Confidence in your cardio.
That's huge too, especially having been in a 5-rounder.
Yeah, like specifically experience, like after experiencing a 3-rounder, my first time going 15 minutes, because my first.
I was gonna say, when did you first have to fight 15 minutes?
Oh, Hannah. So I was.
Wait, really? That's leading your.
It was my 7th pro fight.
You're just out here finishing everybody.
I only went to the 3rd round once.
Is that Calderon?
Calderon, I guillotined him in the 3rd.
That's right.
Other than that, it was 2nd round finish, 1st round finish, 2nd round finish, 1st round finish. Then Calderon was a 3rd round finish. Coggins 1st round finish.
Do you have any fights where you
So
lost
2 2nd round finishes.
early rounds and then you had to come back?
No,
I can't think of any.
I never lost the 1st round, unless I lost the whole fight in the 1st round. Mike Pope won the 1st round by guillotine.
Yeah, but we went Chael's rules. You just.
Yeah, I didn't know. It was a misunderstanding. I thought I just lost that round and I was going to go win the next 4. Yeah.
Oh man, that's wild.
Yeah, so that's the only 1st round I've lost.
So okay, but you've identified a couple like really important things here. Confidence.
I lost the 1st round in amateurs. Joe Wagner. He beat me in the 1st round and then finished me in the 2nd round. He beat me up. Was
he the kid who was up 2 weight classes?
No, he was my weight class, and he ended up actually for pros going down a weight. He had like really good fights with Justin Steve. He went like 9-1 as an amateur, but like I was like not making like excuses, but I was like 19 and he was like 28. He was like a man,
Right.
and I just wasn't better than him.
Yeah.
Just like which is like cool in itself. Like I was out there fighting people better than me.
Yeah,
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. What was it? Oh yeah. So getting back to again that quote of like again you hear people talk about it, using your experience. So we've identified a couple of important things: confidence in your cardio, confidence enough to like not get away from your game plan just because it's not working early on. The pacing, like you talked about, like it's okay if maybe you didn't get that 1st round. Don't do anything reckless. Is there anything we're missing here? I think those are like really
Not
the
off
key
the top of
things
my
there.
head, yeah.
Because I think about that a lot, especially after like our first episode where we talked about all these cliches. I'm like, a lot of these cliches are cliches for a reason, and especially in striking, you hear like people talk about like, oh, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and then I'm always like,
Dude,
that makes sense, but why?
In that first episode on the cliches, we talked about like how cliches like become like more easily used like when you're older, right? Like when I was younger, like all the cliches were super corny.
Yeah.
And now I find myself like using them because they were true.
Yeah.
And now I've got more experience with the cliche, and I'm like,
Isn't it weird, dude? I did the same thing. I was like super in depth on some. I want to say it was about like a chemical in like plants or something, and like I was diving deep.
Mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell.
There you go. So I was reading some like scientific papers about this nutrient, like how it works. I'm like, oh, cool, and I should be eating this, blah blah. Blah. And then like what it all came down to was like after diving into this research, is I was like, oh, if you eat a bunch of vegetables, and especially if you eat vegetables that are different colors, that's really good for you. And it's like that's just like a common thing that people say. They're like, hey, try to eat as many vegetables as you can. Try to get different colored vegetables. And I'm like,
I never heard that in my life.
really?
Different colored vegetables?
Yeah, they have different nutrients in them.
No, I never heard that.
Okay, well, that's a common thing that like people know about. And when I dove into the research on it, it just came right back to that. You know what I mean? And that happens a lot with like weightlifting research or like anything. It's just like, dude, just lift weights, man. Like you start here, you're like, dude, just lift weights, and then you dive into it, and you're like, oh, I have to do this, and I have to make sure I time this properly, and I need an eccentric of this time, and blah blah blah. And then like the more you dive into it, you're like, no, dude, just.
You've seen those memes where it's like, oh, the new guy's like, oh, just grab it and rip it.
Yep.
And then the guy with like experience over here is like, no, you need to understand the breaking points and the leverage and stuff. And then the expert's like, just grab it and rip it.
Yup, exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that you literally have to go on that journey in order to get to that
Yeah.
level?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, dude, just grab it and rip
That's
it.
wild. But anyways, yeah, that cliche holds up. That's
cool.
it's cool stuff.
Yeah,
that's most of the important things I think we can take away from the UFC.
Well, I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah, gives us something fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's move on to something a little bit closer to home. So you had a big seminar, huh?
I did. I went out to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to visit our friend Cody. Hashtag Team Kohai. So I got to take Tim Bailey with me, one of our fighters. Yeah, I like to take people with me when I go travel. These, not just to like have company, but like to like kind of feel them out, give them opportunities to travel as well. Like as we discussed, we did the New York, New Jersey trip with, Britt, Lucas, Farmon, and Ramirez. And last time I went out to Cody's, I took Vince, who's like travels with me a lot, but I took Britt and Christian. So yeah, so this time I took Tim. We went out there Friday night. We saw Cody's new gym. Beautiful.
Dude, it looks insane.
Dude, his gym is so sick. So their mat space is really large. And Cody, I know you're going to watch this. It's like pretty close to the same size. I counted our mats this morning. It's like pretty close. So his fighters, because they were in town recently, they were like, oh man, I think our mat space is bigger. And Cody was like, dude, it's just not bigger, right? And I was like out there and I was like, no, dude, it's not bigger. Right, and he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "It's probably because we have walls, 3 ways around, so it might feel a little smaller. But technically, the walls make it a little bit more useful space.
Yeah,
you don't have to be
you
as
can wall wrestle.
Yeah, wall wrestle, and you don't have to be as like cautious on the edge.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but I counted the mats, and like we're not even a full mat length wider. We're a half of a mat length wider, and like just like 1 mat length longer. So I'm like,
so it's like almost
identical. Yeah, dude, he's got tons of mat space. It's sick. His second room is like decent size and it's right next to it. So he's got a lot of square footage. He's got a nice small weight area, nothing that's taking up too much space, but it's got everything you need. And the area that it's in is like the coolest area in Grand. It's got to be the coolest area in Grand Rapids. It reminds me a little bit of the Strip, and that's what Cody said too. Like you walk right outside, and like you go down to the corner. He's one like unit from the corner, and on the corner is like the main drag of like good restaurants and like things like that.
Yeah.
Parking's super cheap there. I'm like, yeah, dude, like I paid like the high price to park all day. It was $4. I'm like, dude, I pay $7 to park at my own gym
for like an hour.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, dude, I hate that. I'm morally opposed to for parking, but different
yeah,
discussion.
But that's his new, and they've been in that location for like a little over 2 weeks now, and it's great, and they're gonna just do so good in there.
That's
his
third one, right?
So this is his main academy. That's Daniel Gracie Grand Rapids main academy. That one's in Grand Rapids. He has 2 smaller academies, like how we have our 3 branches. One in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and one in Holland.
Gotcha.
Michigan, obviously. Yeah, so like
this is the
suburbs of Grand Rapids, I would say. Yeah, but this is like their main academy. Like the Strip's our main. This is their main. But it's beautiful. It was great.
Did you run the fight team practice before the seminar? Or
yeah.
after?
So the next morning, the fight team came in. They got a good group. They had to have at least 20 on the mat. I was like surprised because like they're young. They're a young.
Not
team.
only that, but like that's a big fight team. Just kind of like regardless. Like I think, and actually that's one of those things. Like you and I just know this stuff, but like people listening might not know. Like a 20-person fight team is huge.
Yeah.
Like most fight teams are what, like 5 to 10 guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like ours certainly was for a long time.
Yeah, it was.
You know, but yeah, there was like 20 there. Um, there was a pro. You know, not counting Cody and Miguel, who are also pros. They were just like in coach mode.
Yeah.
But there was a pro there, Mike. And then the rest were just like amateurs. But man, they were excited to learn. They were hungry. We went over some wall wrestling stuff, and they did a really good job picking it up.
That's sick.
And then they did some shoot box sparring. During the shoot box sparring, you know, I'm watching Tam. I'm watching some of his other fighters. Like take a little, like, you know, I like all the guys, right? But like Eli's like Cody's like young boy, like, you know what I mean? That's his like, oh, my boy Eli, right? So I wanted to help Eli out a little bit. So I tried to pull him aside, like spin around, like giving him some advice, just some like strategical advice, you know, nothing crazy. You know, just trying to help him out, implement it. You know, they got some good fighters there. I would say they're probably top amateur that was injured right now. Lurk. He just had his like meniscus sewn up like an idiot. Yeah, dude, just cut it out. Cut it out. Don't sew it up.
You don't have meniscus.
I don't. Cut it out, brother. Check this out. Look at that. Look at that.
Also, fun fact, what did you do the day before you had your meniscus cut out?
What did I do?
You don't remember this?
No.
Dude, we did a track practice outside, and you smoked everybody.
Was it at Arsenal?
Yes.
Up at Arsenal Park? Oh, I was smoking everyone. Then I had surgery the next day.
Dude, Mike literally had surgery the next day on his meniscus, and we're like running sprints and stuff. And like I'm not slow. I'm fast for like a non-real athlete. You know what I mean?
You're
like,
fast for like
for like a regular dude. You know
for
what
not
I
a
mean?
runner.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And like I'm faster than, again, people who aren't runners. I'm faster than most everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm just used to like, you know,
Yeah,
getting
dipping on
after it.
people.
And Mike was smoking me by like
Dude, I put
by
some,
like 20 feet.
Dude, I put some distance between everybody.
And it's not like we're doing long sprints.
No, they were like probably like 60 yarders.
So the last one of the day, just to show how fast he was, Mike starts running, and like we're all in a group. Mike's on the side, and he just runs across everybody just because he's in front. And I was like, man,
Essentially adding like another like 15 yards. To
yeah, still smoking everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I forgot that I did that the day before surgery.
Yeah, don't get your meniscus sewed. Just chop it out.
Yeah, you don't need it, man. Come on, Lark. Yeah, but a really good MMA practice. Watch them spar. You know, they did a really good job. They sparred hard, but with goals in mind and stuff like that. And that was one of the things that like Cody was really pushing on them. Like, hey man, like this is like you're not fighting right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like use the sparring for what it's for. You know, don't need to be in here headhunting the whole time type of thing. But it was a really good practice. And then we got into the seminar after. Yeah.
And this was a gi seminar. Why?
Yeah, because Cody hates me. Cody knows that I don't like the gi. I like to think that Cody just like was doing it for my own good. Like, get out of your comfort zone, put the gi back on, be true to your roots. That's what I think.
I've gone back and forth on this like many times in my life about like what's cooler. And
What do you mean? What's cooler? No gi is cooler.
I agree, and I prefer no gi big time. But there was a while where I was like, man, gi sucks. And now I'm like, gi's
No,
cool.
gi's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Gi's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like here's the thing. Like no gi and gi have grown so far apart that like, unless you're like remarkable, like. You almost have to like pick one or the other to get to like at the top levels.
Right, exactly.
People will argue that. People will be like, "Oh, look at Miragali. He won worlds in the gi and then placed very high at ADCC no gi. Oh, look at Tainan Dalpra, two-time world champ in the gi, and now he's like one of the top no gi players." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's impressive, and that's why it's impressive." Because that's hard to do.
Because you just named two dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's a massive amount of them doing this.
And like, it's like, oh, and back in the day, everybody did it. Because Jiu Jitsu like grew like together back in the day. And now, like, you know, what happens to every sport? It evolves. And it evolves within the parameters given of that sport.
Exactly.
So like, what are the new things in the gi? It's like all the lapel guards and stuff that don't translate to no gi. What are the new things in no gi? All the leg locks that are not allowed in the gi. You know what I mean? So like the sport grew
very
like
different.
At the trunk, like at the fundamentals, they're the same. But the higher you get, the more they spread apart.
Exactly.
Which is what makes it impressive.
Yeah.
That those guys could do two sports.
Exactly. And also like guys who are really good at gi, like people don't do jiu-jitsu. I don't think they realize how different those grips are. You know what I mean? Like trying to, you know, hit an arm drag
Dude, I haven't done gi in forever, and I didn't even train live. My hands are sore from teaching.
Oh yeah,
From
those
teaching.
grips.
Yeah. Well, everything I did was very grip specific because I didn't want to just go there and teach like
No gi
no
in the
gi
gi.
stuff in the
Yeah.
gi. You know?
I did that.
That's what everybody was like, are you going to do mixers in the gi? And I was like, I mean, maybe. Because you could grab the collar and loop choke with it.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I went very gi specific. Everything was extremely gi specific.
What's your favorite thing that you can do in the gi that you can't do no gi?
Lapel guards.
Lapel guards.
Yeah, like worm guard. That's what. So
Do you like
we got into it in the seminar.
do you like lapel chokes or do you use? That?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Bow and arrow, the bow and arrow choke is what got me to first like accept the gi.
Right. Right.
Right, like because like Warm was like battling with me to like train gi, and I was like, no, I'll just go do striking on gi nights or whatever. And he was like, no, you should do gi. And like we did bow and arrow chokes, and I was like, that's ignorant.
Yeah, dude.
Like that's rude. And I'm rude.
I can think of
Let's
one
go.
very specific picture.
Oh, is
Yeah.
it with Jarrett?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was fake. It was for a camera.
You did the same thing to Lonnie one time. You know what I mean? So the chain, was completed.
I did.
I have a picture of you, bow and arrow choking Lonnie. So now Lonnie's gonna have to do
Damn,
the song.
post that, dude. Holy crap.
That's just for us.
Did it happen for real or was it fake?
I think it was for real. I think it was just like after like a noon class or
Send
something.
it to
Just
me.
messing around.
I'm gonna make it my wallpaper.
If I can find it, I'll send it
I
to you.
choked Lonnie?
Yeah.
It couldn't have been real. We had to be jagging around. There's no way.
We'll have to look.
I'm pretty sure I've never beat Lonnie before.
But hold on. Is that your answer to my question? Is that your favorite gi specific technique, bow and arrow choke?
Yes, ultimately yes. That's my favorite
Okay.
gi specific finish, but I really do like these like lapel guards and stuff because they are so unique to the gi. And like, it's just like fun,
Yeah.
something else to do, something that I cannot do
Exactly.
any other way.
Okay, last question before we get back onto the actual
seminar,
subject.
yeah.
When you watch a movie, like I'm just trying to think, the easy example is John Wick, right? When you watch something like that, which is like very like gi specific jiu-jitsu, obviously like, for the camera and stuff, but when you see that, are you like, dude, that's sick. Like that's representing jiu-jitsu well.
Yeah, well, I like it because it's jujitsu, so it's like,
Yeah.
they're trying to promote jujitsu
Right,
with it.
right.
So yeah, I appreciate that.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
even if it's like maybe like slightly askew.
Yeah.
I understand for the sake of
A movie.
cinema.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I appreciate that they're exposing jujitsu.
Yeah, that's one thing I wish I could change about movies is they're always trying to make it for the camera, and I'm just like, if you know what you're looking at, man, like the striking just doesn't look good. It should.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're way off subject. Let's get back to the seminar. So you're teaching this gi seminar. First
Yeah.
of all, can we just talk about the turnout,
Dude, it was phenomenal. It was so sick. I want to get like pretty deep into that.
dude? You sent me that picture. I was like,
Dude, like people started coming in and Cody was like, yeah, I think we'll get a pretty good turnout. And I'm like, all right, cool. And like last time, so I did a seminar there last January, no-gi on the mixers and stuff. And I probably had like 50 there, which was like, in my opinion, that's
that's
big.
a huge seminar.
Yeah, it's big. Like I thought, I was like all proud,
As you should be.
Like, yeah, I was very proud of it. And then this time, like, people are meandering in and like the gym's so big though, that like you didn't notice.
Right. It didn't feel crowded.
It did, yeah, because it didn't feel crowded and boom, boom, boom. We bring it in, Cody introduces me and stuff. And like, it looked like a lot of people, but it didn't look like what it was because
Right.
the gym's so big. There
Yeah.
was so much room, and the seminar did take up the entirety of both rooms. All his mat space was covered for the seminar. And it was really cool. We took a group picture at the end. And like, I was like looking at the picture and I was like, dang, I bet there was like 80 people here. Right. So I'm like trying to count the faces in the picture, like, cause I'm getting curious. So I'm like, sitting there, like me and Tim are like at like the bar or something waiting for our food. And I'm like counting the faces in the picture and I'm like, did I count that person twice? All this stuff. But I get to like 50 and I'm like, I'm not halfway through this picture. And I'm like, okay, I got to get a real count. So I take it and I like zoom in on it, right? And I take the thing where you can mark and I put a dot on everybody's face. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just dot your face so I don't count you twice. So in the photo there was 108 plus Sean Kelly, one of Cody's guys, had to leave early because he came on his lunch break. Right? Shout out Sean Kelly's. I think his Instagram's like celebrity chef or whatever. Yeah, there's a shout out for my guy. And then Skylar was taking the picture, and he did the seminar too.
Yeah.
But like, he's gonna make a cool video. Like you've seen like some of the stuff he's done. Yeah. He's gonna make a cool video of the seminar too. So sick. I'm excited for that. When that comes out, should be coming out like probably like a week or so. Like, you know. Oh, but Skylar does a good job, and he did the seminar too.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So
dude, 110.
110.
That's a big seminar.
Well, now technically 108, because like I think maybe I counted myself, because I counted the people in the picture.
Whatever, dude.
And then I counted Cody, and like I counted Miguel, but like, you know what, dude, count it, count it, 110.
110.
So I had 110. Yeah, and it was sick. Just like such a good community. Like everybody was like pretty fired up about it. It seemed like people were interested in the subjects that I was teaching. I did feel like I like was on fire.
Yeah.
You know, like
Sometimes
when you're just
you're
like,
on when
like
you're
I just was like, yo, I'm hitting right now.
Yeah.
I let people know too. I'd be like, I'd walk around, I'd be like, can you believe like how good I'm doing? They'd be like, yeah, dude, you're doing pretty good.
That's so unlike you.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I was like, guys, like I'm on fire. Like, yeah. So, but what I did that I thought was kind of unique, because like I didn't want to run down just like one like aspect. Like normally, like if I were doing a seminar, I'd be like, all right, I'm doing a seminar on mixers. I'm doing a seminar on like passing through leg locks. I'm doing a seminar on loose passing. I'm doing a seminar on body lock passing, like stuff like that, right? Specific. So what I decided to do, because there were so many people there and I saw so many different belts. I saw a lot of white belts, blue belts, purples, browns, you know. Excuse me, I wanted to run something that had something for everybody. So I gave them some advice at the beginning on how I like to think of a way to approach seminars. And like, a seminar is for your team. It is a team event, okay? So when you're at a seminar, right? Let's say we're at a seminar and there's 50 of us. We have a seminar at our school, 50, 60 of us. I am not required to learn and retain everything. You are not required to learn and retain everything. That person is not required to learn and retain everything, but something's going to speak to all of us, right? And ideally, as a team, we retain it all, right? Because there may be some stuff taught at the seminar that you're not ready for,
Right.
Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe you don't have the prerequisites to apply this move. Maybe you don't have the prerequisites of experience for these techniques to make sense the way they should. Right?
Or body type specific things.
Yeah,
There's
body
all
type
kinds of
specific
reasons
things.
why.
Yeah, and we touched on that. So I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, this is a team event. Like, you guys as a team are gonna get this all. Excuse me. So I started off very fundamental, right? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna start off fundamental, and we're gonna get very advanced, right? So at some point in time during this seminar, depending on where you are in your journey, I'm gonna lose you, and that's fine. That's okay. It's not ready for you yet. And isn't that great that there's stuff that you're not ready for yet? Isn't that great that you know there's still stuff in the future? It's like when a show's about to come to an end, right? And you're like, this is it. It's over, right? But you know what's cool? Well, you know, we got 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's fun. So,
And also, I think what's also important there is like, think about like, easy example. You watch a movie, right? A month later, you watch that same movie. You're picking stuff out that you didn't get the first time.
Yeah.
And like, you know, in order to learn something, you have to be exposed to it multiple times.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you might have said something that like just like touched on someone, and then like later, maybe even like a week later, they're like, oh, now it's starting to like.
they're going to too, because shout out to my man Kevin. He had them drilling it this morning at morning class.
I saw that Instagram story.
Yeah, dude. He was like working on some of the stuff from Mike's seminar. Boom, and I'm like, that's it. Like, get after it, like right away while it's fresh. And we do that all the time. We do like, all the time. Seminar comes through, boom, we're working.
Next
that.
week we're doing that.
Yeah. So we start off fundamental. I just did some like grip breaks from a closed guard, because like everybody can do a closed guard. Grip breaks to some gripping strategies that help control posture, like, you know, stuff that I know like works at like every level.
Every level, yep.
You know, and then just some like options of attacks off it. We looked at some details to enter into a triangle and how that was like compatible, or what's that called? Like when 2 animals help each other.
Symbiotic.
Yeah, that was symbiotic with like an omoplata, right? So they
right.
like they work together. They created, you
Dilemma.
know, I gave the dilemma speech too. Yeah, yeah, your classic dilemma. I want to give you two choices and neither of them are good.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to do. So we did that, and then I was like, hey, I thought this was a great idea. So anybody doing seminars, if you want to follow this like structure of going fundamental to advanced, I then took the group picture, middle of the seminar. Group picture. That way, anybody who needs to leave early, like I got to go pick up my kids, I got this, I got that. We appreciate that you sacrifice some time to come to this seminar, support the seminar, be a part of the team. And if you got to go, you got to go. You're still represented in the picture. And like I said, the only person we missed in our picture, Sean Kelly, we're gonna Photoshop him in now.
I love it.
Yeah. So we took the picture also because I was like, now I'm gonna get a little spicy,
Yeah. Teach some wild
right?
stuff.
And I'm like, and when I'm getting this spicy, like the newer people are gonna fall behind here,
Right.
right? And I can't like help everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like
You
there's-
can't catch them up on like 5 years of jiu-jitsu.
yeah. So like it was kind of like, hey, like
Follow along if you can.
follow along if you can. If you're like, I can't follow along on this, and I'm sick of watching all of you guys have fun. You're good to go. We got the picture, right? So then I went into some like lapel guard, worm guard strategies, just like 3 roll techniques, like kind of like a sickle style scissor sweep from worm, a deep De La Hiva back take from worm, and then just like a nice single leg from there. Because when you have your foot in the wormhole, so to speak, it's very difficult for your opponent to remove it, but it's very easy for you to remove your own foot.
And then
So you can come up to it. Yeah. And you have the lapel like underneath their leg. So like
I
like
see.
I'll
So
have
they-
your lapel like
right here. So
Yeah.
it starts to off balance them as you're wrestling up.
yeah, and like I picture like I'm not
It
like
like
you can't
brings it
break my
into your
grip.
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the cool things about using the lower lapel as a grip, you take some slack out of it. It feels like someone's like holding you around the waist.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like dogfight position, like someone's around the waist, like, you know, Wizard seatbelt, someone's around the waist. It feels like that because all the slack's out, so it's being pulled in that direction. And it's a difficult grip to break and fight because there's none of your body's in it.
Yeah.
You know, like I grab your sleeve, you know, you can like
Right, it's
roll
just
your
right
sleeve,
here.
pop it, right? I grab a pant leg, right? Your leg's in there, pop it, right? Your collar, like especially when I'm grabbing it up high and not low on the lapel, right? Like you use your upper body to pull away when you're popping that grip and the lapel, like there's nothing in there. So it's a very difficult grip to break. And what first got me kind of excited on the lapel guard, which I have a little story on why I elected to go dive down that avenue, was, dude, I got whooped with the lapel guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so funnily, or maybe oddly enough, this may come as a surprise, I was undefeated in the gi until brown belt.
I'm
Now,
surprised.
I didn't go do any majors or anything.
Yeah.
I just did like, you know, your typical locals, like your Nagas, Grappling Industries, Fuji's, things like that. But
Because you were still fighting too. Like.
yeah, I was fighting through all this. But I would go do gi at these tournaments because it's like $20 more to do both. Like, so you almost feel like you're losing money.
Yeah,
if
you're
you
like,
don't.
no, let's do both.
And like I trained gi.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I'm gonna do it.
Can I tell you something that you told me when you were a brown belt that
What?
just like changed my game completely? You were a brown belt. You walked in the locker room one time, got the gi on, you know, and you're like, dude, I can't believe it took me this long to figure it out, but like, you just grabbed the other guy's gi. And, like, I knew you were being like somewhat facetious, but like,
But there's like some truth to it.
because up until that point, when I was in the gi, I would just do no gi in the gi. And then,
I think what I was saying though was like you can just grab it anywhere.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like you don't have to make just your traditional sleeve grip and collar grip and
Yeah,
stuff.
but dude, that
like
was-
I was just I was just grabbing the gi like literally anywhere.
Right.
So like if I was doing like
Handles
some like
everywhere.
passing or whatever, and where I would like hold you like with my hands, like I just squeeze, I grab your clothes
Yeah.
there. Like, you know, you just grab it anywhere.
But see, dude, that was over my head at that point. For me, I literally was doing no gi in the gi, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, yeah. Like, of course they've been teaching me all this stuff. Why haven't I been using it?
Well, I think that could help some people, especially at the lower levels. Like, you can make non-specific grips, right? Like, I don't have to just grab the pant, the sleeve, and the collar, and
You can't reach all the way to the belt. Just grab some fabric.
Oh, we were working on that. Like, oh, the belt fell off. It's later in the match. Like, the belt fell off. Scruff, scruff, scruff. Got some fabric, and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. Oh, I got whooped.
talking about-
I got whooped
yeah,
with
yeah.
lapel guard. I was wrestling
In a tournament.
in a tournament, Naga Philly. This was my first gi loss. Angelo Claiborne. He goes by Truck BJJ's like his Instagram now. He's a good black belt. Team Learn Irving guy, and he ended up being the world runner up that year. Like, so this was February. That June he took silver at Worlds, but dude, he ran a really nice spider and lapel like guard on me, and I was just like at a loss. Like I had nothing to. Like I had nothing for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he whooped me up, and then an Ohio kid, Tyler Buckner. This was actually the week after my Bellator fight.
Oh.
I went and did a Fuji, right? And I did like 170 because I was like crazy light for some reason. Like,
Because you just fought.
yeah, but I would balloon up, and like I didn't. And I was like, I weighed in at 168, you know? And I did 3 divisions. I did no gi 180, no gi 170, and brown belt gi 170. And Tyler wasn't even supposed to compete. He was there to ref, but there weren't like enough brown belts. And he ran a lapel guard on me and beat me. Yeah. He ended up being the first main event on Stout Fights.
Oh,
it was him
sick.
versus Matt Schaefer. Was the first ever Stout Fights main event.
And that just like opened up your perspective onto like what's possible.
Yeah, the lapel stuff. Yeah, because I just had no answer.
Right.
I had no answer, and I was like, oh, like that's cool.
Yeah.
So like instead of being like salty, like
Yeah,
I was like, man, I appreciate that.
Let's learn some stuff here.
Yeah. So then, a little story that I told them too is like, why did I choose that? Why did I choose to like go down that path other than getting beat by it? Well, it was when I got my black belt, I did feel a little fraudulent, you know, like when I received any of my belts prior to my black belt, I was like, about time. You know what I mean? Like I never felt not ready. I always felt like I was the next belt well before I got it, right? Like I could have gotten every single one of my belts a year and a half earlier, and I would have been like, yep, you know, like, let's go. But black belt, like, I was like, got self-conscious. I was like, oh no.
What if I'm not actually that good?
I'm a black belt. And I was like, and I don't have a guard, and I don't have anything gi specific. I was like, oh no, I'm a fraud. Right? And then, so I was like, okay, well, let's work on guard and let's get something gi specific. So, don't get much more gi specific guard than a lapel guard.
Yep.
Yeah. So I went really hard down that rabbit hole. Little shout out to Sean Lupka. He went down it with me as a partner. So I appreciate that. And, you know, just retained it. And that's like my guard game for gi. And it's one that I really enjoy playing.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
And it seems like they enjoyed
Yeah,
it as well.
it seemed like they enjoyed it. You know, it was cool. I think I did ask. A few people there did play it, you know, but like when I asked, like, you know, like there were 110, let's say like 3 hands went up. So like I think a lot of people were now exposed to it.
Yeah.
Which is good to do that. You hate to go somewhere and just be like, oh yeah, we did this Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, hey, let me show you this whole series, and they're like, yeah, we did that yesterday.
Yeah.
Like,
Which at the same time, like, I like it when that happens to us though. Isn't that weird?
But I think it's different. It's different. So when I like learn from another coach and they teach something that like either, you know, I haven't seen before, in striking there's not a whole lot that like I haven't seen, but like maybe they explain it in a way I haven't explained it or whatever. It's new to me. When I get new material, I'm like, this is great. I can use this and incorporate it into, you know, my game for, you know, coaching and all this kind of stuff. When a really high level coach teaches stuff that I'm like, I do all this, I know all this, I'm like, it's reassurance now that we're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And not just to me, and we've talked about this before, it's reassurance for like our fighters. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about when you were up at the edge.
Yeah, that's what we had happen at the edge. They're showing
same.
everything that I already teach them. I'm like, yep, they know it. They know it because this is what I teach them. So it was reassurance for me, reassurance for them. And then just best of both worlds, cherry on top, they threw some new stuff at me.
Yep.
Some stuff that added to it. So it was like as good as it could get, you know, as far as that. So yeah.
That's super sick, dude.
A lot of people commented to me that they really enjoyed the seminar. And whether it be the technique, the atmosphere, whatever, the team, that the team feel that it created, you know, I feel like we nailed it. We had a good job. And then me and Cody got to like, kind of like I did like a little Q&A after, and the only question was like about like, oh, how did you guys meet and stuff. So we got to tell that story. We got to tell the story about how Cody. So it might be a long story for another podcast, but and maybe one day when we have the capabilities and having guests, we bring Cody on. I would really like to bring Cody on actually.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
But like, so just to like briefly do it, not to spoil it too much, But Cody and I met at Eastern Michigan University. I was up there visiting Sean Clare. We were doing some wrestling, and I met Cody through there. And we have a funny first meeting in which we were going to fight each other. Because I was in Sean's locker. Because I was there with Sean.
Right.
Right? And Cody was like, why is this dude in Sean's locker? Type of thing. So we had that. And then we were wrestling after. And then Cody was like, oh, he must be a recruit. And he's like, I shouldn't have been an asshole to him. Right? Turns out I was neither though, but then we became friends, and then I was talking.
That was the last time you guys ever tried to fight each other, right?
No, no, we have fought each other many times.
Oh, we gotta get Cody in for a pod.
We have fought each other many times. We haven't fought each other in a while though. We're on a mature streak where we don't fight each other.
I think we're all like adults now.
Yeah, I don't think me and Cody are gonna fight each other anymore. Unless we want to do a throwback just for like nostalgia. We'll do a nostalgia fight. Yeah, Cody was like, just like growing up, like doing like adult stuff. But back at this exact meeting, we went and we watched UFC fights together. Me, Cody, and Sean, we went to a B-Dubs in Ann Arbor. And it was Anderson Silva versus Rich Franklin 2.
We were just watching.
No, it was Anderson Silva versus Rich Franklin 1.
Okay.
Because I was like, yeah, Rich Franklin's going to crush this dude. And he did not. I looked like an idiot. But Cody was like, I was so passionately talking about like Jiu Jitsu and MMA and stuff that Cody was like he couldn't even hate on it.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like, yeah, you just like loved it so much. It was so passionate that like, where like, and Cody will like make fun of anything. But he wouldn't. Yeah. Because he was like, no, like he said, like the passion of it was like too endearing. It was like, oh, like it's like something too positive you can't pull away,
Dude.
And then he was like, I tell you what, you become the man, I'll come train with you. And I was like, all right. And I beat Willett. Beat Willett, and I just messaged him. Like I got the photos from that. I messaged a picture to Cody of me like ground and pounding him and stuff. And I was like, where you at, dog? And he came to practice like the next Tuesday.
And then moved to Pittsburgh.
The next Tuesday, and he walks in with Sean. I'm like, oh, Cody, what's up? Because he had been to Pittsburgh before. Yeah. I'm like, what's up, dude? Oh, man, you're going to come train. Oh, cool. How long you in town for? He's like, I moved here. I was like, what? He was like, I told you I would. I was like, yeah, but like.
Cody is one of those.
But we were kidding.
Yeah. He's one of those guys, you'd be in a bar, have a couple beers, and you're like, oh, yeah, dude, I'll go move here if this happens. And like, you just say stuff like that. Not Cody. He's like, I moved here now.
Yeah, so he did. And then like, it was a good story, good times. Great to see his community that he's built. He's doing such a tremendous job out there. Everybody's so enthusiastic about the sport out there. And like, I don't think there really was like a jiu-jitsu, like much of an overarching jiu-jitsu like community in Grand Rapids. Right. And I feel like Cody's doing a tremendous job of fostering that and building that, along with like, I want to give credit to his his staff as well, Miguel. Yeah. And then it's like all his other guys, Kevin, Eli, and like stuff like that. So yeah, they got a great team there. I'll be out more often now.
Cody, I promise you, and I'm still promising you, I will come out and run a striking seminar and make that happen. Yeah,
let's get there. Let's get there sooner than later. Let's go. Like
we double one up.
We could do that. We could do an MMA one then. Well, I guess we would just run fight team practice. It was one.
We'll do both.
Yeah, do it all. Yeah. We'll just go there and do a combat sports weekend. It'll be fun.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, I would love for you to see the place too. Plus, like I stayed in the area of the gym and it's super nice. Like it's a good place to be. So I look forward to going back. Dude, I found out they got an airport like 15 minutes away too. Like, cause it was a 6-hour drive. Bro, I might be too rich to be driving. I ain't rich, but I ain't that poor.
6 hours is an expensive cost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see like what plane tickets are, but
That's what's crazy, dude. Sometimes like Cody, like I'll go in to run like a Saturday practice,
and Cody
was
will
just there, and I'm like, hey, dude, what's going on? He's like, yep, showed up to get some sparring from my guys. Like, yeah, dude, that's sick.
Yeah, just like on. Dude, my favorite part is like Cody tells me he's coming, like when they're like 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, you gotta be at an open mat. I got 7 of my guys with me when I'm like an open mat, and I'm like, no, dude. Because like I didn't know you were coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Like maybe like did you just decide? Like you were at least in the car for 5.5 hours. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you could have told me. Oh, that's Cody. That's Cody. I wouldn't be surprised if he was there tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
He's outside right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but they got a great team. I didn't get to see his other locations though. We just didn't have time this trip. Next time I go out, I'm gonna stay for like 4 days or so. I might even go out one week and just be like, "Yo, Cody, I'm teaching this week." Like just teach all his classes.
That'd be sick.
I'm like, take a break.
That'd be super sick.
Yeah. But that was it. Great times. Can't wait to go back. I love it there.
Dude,
yeah, I love those. I like that. Just that group.
Yeah.
I just love that group.
Yeah.
So I really can't wait to go back.
I always love when he brings his guys through. Good squad. Can't wait to go out myself.
Yeah, his jiu-jitsu like crew is like sick too.
Yeah,
they're great.
it's awesome.
I'm gonna cough right now.
I'll edit it out. You got anything to add about the seminar? Should we move on?
No, you got anything to ask?
I don't think so.
Yeah, because I was throwing that fire. There should be no questions. Everything was answered. All the heat I threw.
Let's get into our last subject then.
All right, Super Bowl Sunday was
The
yesterday.
Taylor Bowl.
The Taylor Bowl.
Yeah. So
You are a huge football diehard fan, right?
watch every game, right? No, this is
How many fantasy football teams are you on?
0. -0. Dude, I've been asked multiple times. People are like, dude, it's not even that hard. Just like make some guys. And then I'm like, oh, you have to like adjust it weekly? They're like, yeah. But like, I'm like, nope, count me out. I'm not taking part of this. For me, football is one of those sports where it's like, I really like football. It's either my 1 or 2 favorite like team sport. It's either that or hockey.
Wow.
And I think it's super cool. Actually, the way I kind of look at football, because each team is each player is so specialized, it's almost like a chess game.
Oh, very much so.
Occurs in 5 seconds. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And then it resets, but the setup isn't the same each time. You know
Right,
what I
yeah.
mean? Does that sound like a good analogy? For somebody
Absolutely.
who
Yeah, that
doesn't
was
really
good.
know?
Yeah.
Killing it. But anyways, so like I like football, but it's just like there's so many combat sports and there's just like so much stuff going on in life. I just don't have time to get into it. You know what I mean? And like I watch other sports, and again, like if I have time to like rewatch a Thai fight that happened in Bangkok, the morning before, I'm gonna watch that as opposed to watching fight or football, right? So I've watched, I think, like 2 or 3 football games in the last like 4 to 5 years.
Man, that's
And
crazy.
To
I
be honest
watched
with you,
2 to 3 football games in like 3 hours.
I don't think I've even like really fully watched them because it'd be like at a Super Bowl party. I'm like, I don't really care. I'm watching the commercials and stuff. So yesterday was the first time that I like watched most of the game and like was into it.
What a good game to watch.
Dude, it was a great one too. And it was cool too
It was
because
a great Super Bowl.
I was with my family, right? And my dad really likes Patrick Mahomes. And my wife really
Kermit
likes
the
Taylor
Frog
Swift.
here.
What's up?
Kermit the Frog here.
Dude, when they do his voice next to Kenny Powers, that's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's spot on. But anyways, so like, so my dad wants, Kansas City to win. My wife loves Taylor Swift. She wants Kansas City to win. I don't really care. So I'm like, yo, I'm Kansas City now too. So now everyone's all like, getting behind one team. But like, also I don't care too much to like if they lost, it would like ruin my night. And then it came down to that nail biter. Dude, super sick.
Yeah.
Also, I found out too, dude, this is how disconnected I am. When Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce first got together, I had no idea who Travis Kelce was, right? And
Dude, that is so sad.
there was like a thing on social media where like women would ask their like, boyfriends and husbands and stuff. They'd be like, hey, like,
I saw this.
how do you feel about like, Taylor Swift making Travis Kelce like famous or something? And like so many dudes would be like, no, blah, blah, and like wild out. And I was like, who's Travis Kelce? And she like explained, and I was like, oh, cool, good for him. And like it just like totally over my head. So I heard someone call it the Taylor Bowl. And I saw like some Instagram comments or something where like people were like upset, and I was like, dude, that is hilarious to me. In my mind, this is the Taylor Bowl now.
Yeah.
So obviously I wanted Kansas City to win. I was very happy. Who did you want to have win?
Well, I wanted Kansas City to win due to my money, because I'm a pretty.
You like gambling?
I gamble a lot. I pulled up my FanDuel, like, stats, so like running through the football season on the sports book, and I had wagered over $93,000 this season.
And for clarification, that doesn't mean that you took $93,000 and you're like, boom.
No. I've never at one time had $93,000 in my life. But like, if you bet like $100 a game on 16 games, and stuff like that, and maybe some like other like wagers and stuff, like sometimes like my dad will wager through me, so that way, because he don't know how to use like, so I don't know how to do this app, so like I'll do his bets and my bets, and he might have a higher unit than most of your average bettors, right? I would say between the two of us, there's probably between like a regular season, right? So regular season, 32 teams, So like weeks 1, 2, and 3, no teams have buys. So there's 16 games to bet on. Then after that, 4 teams a week have buys from weeks 3 to week 14. You know, so then there's 14 games to bet on. Between the two of us, we're probably putting out like close to like $5,000 a week.
You got some wild boys.
Yeah, but like, you know, like here's the thing. We didn't lose money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We didn't make a lot.
And you told me the way you do it is you just take, and in my mind, this is the health. First of all, for me, gambling doesn't give me that dopamine hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you've been with me in like casinos, and you're like, oh, cool, let's like do this, and I'm like, oh, I don't care. Like it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, you killed me with that.
And like I get nervous sometimes when you're like, oh, I love gambling, but like the way you explain that you do this is like very like I think this is like a healthy way to go about it.
So I started 5 years ago with this, right? Before sports books were even legal in Pennsylvania, I was doing like the mybookie.ag type deal.
Yeah.
You know, the like the offshore stuff.
Yeah.
So I put $100 in, and when that $100 is gone, that's my year. Yep. That's my season. I did it for the football season. That's my season. So as long as you're winning and stuff like that. So that year, I got up to like $250 by Super Bowl. And to like withdraw your money through something like that, you got to jump through like a million hoops. It's like crazy. Dude. So I was like, it's not worth $250 for me to do these hoops. So I bet it all on some dumb parlay that I would have made like $2,000.
Right.
And I was like, then it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But I ended up losing, so I lost it. The next year I did it again just with $100 because like my unit of bet that time was like I was betting like 10 a game. You know. Also, I'm fairly anti parlays. Like that's another thing. I think parlays, although obviously you can hit big, I think parlays are overall a losing strategy. You know, you let that number just like chase you, and stuff like that. I will tease things and I'll do like small parlays. Like I don't do much bigger than a 2-legger.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll do some 2-leggers. That second year I made it to like week 10, balanced down to 0. That was it. Year 3 made it to week 3, bro. I was like, damn, right? Then year 4. I made a profit, a significant profit. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. So what I did with that significant profit is I withdrew all my initial investments, right? So my first 4 years, which was only $400, I withdrew it, and it's really easy to withdraw from these new apps.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like it's easy. Just like it's like when you transfer from your Venmo to your bank account, it takes like 2 days. That's it. It's easy. So I withdrew. So now the money left in my account.
House money.
It's not my money, right? It's money that I made, right? So technically it's my money, and I get it. People will be like, well, that's your money now. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, but it's really not my money. Now I know that if I go bankrupt, I actually lost $0 of my money.
Total.
Of total. Yeah.
Net.
Yeah. So then like, you know, that bankroll just grows a little bit and your unit grows, stuff like that. And it can become bad because like, I just can't get excited for like anything less than like $100 or $200 bet. Like,
dude, I think
like if my bet is 2 digits, like I don't care.
I think this is a Huberman quote where he said the definition of addiction is a narrowing of the things that like trigger that dopamine response.
Whatever, man.
But hey, as long as you're
it's just your unit changes. It's no different. Your unit changes. Right? Like I got friends who's like their unit's $5 a game, right? And like you're all fired up for it. Like I'm bad, dude. You wouldn't be that fired up if your bankroll was like $8,000. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna win $10 on this game.
Right.
You're not gonna get all fired up. But I get fired up. Yeah. So yeah.
So but hold on.
The Chiefs won. FanDuel does this thing. It's called a 4-way margin, where you get like enhanced odds. There's 4 ways you could take the Niners to win by 14 or more. The Niners to win by a score between 1 and 13. Chiefs, same deals, right? Yeah. So the Chiefs were like a 2.5 point dog. So for them to win by 1 to 13, it ran at a plus 165. So it's good odds.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, no one's blowing anybody out in this game. So I ran that. Chiefs 1 to 13 and hit.
Good for you. What did you think about the game overall? Like just like as a spectator event?
Well, I don't know. I didn't like it because they didn't hit the over. That was way more important to me. I'm just going to leave that at that.
See, for me,
I put the biggest bet in of my entire life on the over.
I'm sorry to hear that.
The biggest bet. And the over was 47.5.
Yeah.
The final score was 25-22. Do you could add that up for me?
That is very close to.
That's 47. That's 47. There was a mixed extra point, but that is not something to like hang the hat on, because had that extra point not had been missed, then the score wouldn't have been tied and went to overtime, where
right.
there was an extra 10,
Right.
an extra 9 points scored.
Right.
Or the other thing I was thinking too, what do you think about this? Like, so it was 25-22 because the touchdown is essentially a walk-off touchdown.
Right.
They don't need to go out and kick the extra point after that touchdown. What if you had to?
Yeah. What if they allowed it?
Yeah, they allowed it, or you're like, it was just part of it. Like,
Right.
like attempting the extra point is just part of it.
Yeah.
So then they go out there, they kick that field goal. Boom! I hit the 48. Then I hit my over. They kick that extra point. Dang.
Maybe they'll change the rules. They'll make it the Wilkins rule.
They won't.
See, I thought the game itself was actually like kind of like average until the end.
I couldn't believe how much of a defensive game it was. Like, when I took the over, I was like confident. I was like,
See, and
I wasn't even stressing.
you had told me about this before. And
I thought the over. I thought it was going to go up throughout the week, so I took it. The Monday after the conference championships, so 13 days before the Super Bowl, I was like, taking it. The over's 47.5, taking it. And I thought, like, the way it works, like people start betting on stuff, and then the line
change,
moves.
Right.
I thought for sure the over was going to be in the 50s come kickoff, and it didn't move the whole time.
See, that's what surprised me is how defensive it was, because like all I hear about, like my dad's like, oh, this Patrick Mahomes guy, he's so good, and I'm just expecting like touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Also, I keep hearing about this Travis Kelce dude. I'm like, yo, it's gonna be Mahomes to Kelce nonstop. It's gonna be a high scoring game, and then
Isaiah
it was like,
Pacheco, and then like San Fran, like Brock Purdy. Like I like Brock Purdy, but they got Christian McCaffrey, who's like fucking amazing. You know what I mean? Like. They got like another great tight. They got like the other great tight end, George Kittle. These were good teams, and I was really rooting for San Fran a little bit, even though it would like affect me, because like Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
I learned about that story like day of. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Good for that guy.
and then he comes in, he's the third string quarterback, and they spent all this money. So first off, they had like a decent quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. And then they draft over him, and they get this dude, Trey Lance, who they're like, this is our franchise guy, right? And Garoppolo was like good. Like, oh, this is our franchise guy, Trey Lance, blah, blah, blah. And then then they draft, Brock Purdy, last pick of the draft. He's the third string quarterback. And then I remember the coach being interviewed, and he was like, yeah, I had to make a call to the GM and be like, hey, I think our best quarterback is our third string guy. And they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
They just made all this investment.
Yep.
They spent all this money on Trey Lance, right? To be like, oh yeah.
Nope, didn't work out.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. All right, let me ask you the questions I really care about now, because like football is fun once every year or two. Here's the real questions. Who would end up being a better MMA fighter if they transitioned right now? They started transitioning right now. Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce? And I have a question for you too before I can even come to an answer. What weight class would Mahomes be? Like, how big is he?
Mahomes would be a 205er.
He's a 205er. I assume
Yeah.
Kelce would be a heavyweight.
Kelsey would be a heavyweight.
He's big, right? He's like 6'6", like probably like 270 or something.
I don't think he's that big.
Really?
I don't think so. We'd have to look it up. But
How fast are
I
those
would
guys? Like the tight
faster
ends?
than us.
Well, yeah, but like I'm talking like.
Like, remember how I cut across the field?
Yeah.
He would have done it twice.
Okay, so someone like Travis Kelce, who, let's just say this, hypothetical tight end who is, we'll call it 6'5", I don't know, what do they weigh, 260, 250, something like that?
I would say like 235, 240.
Okay, 240, right? What's their 40 time?
He's running probably like a 4.5.
That big?
4.5, 4.6. Dude, some D linemen are running like that. Some dudes are like pushing 3, running 4.5s.
Dude,
We should look it up after this.
I would like to see like a physicist like break down like the force on that. Because dude, like, I've always told people this. I'm like, American football is the most violent sport in the world, right? People are like, oh, combat sports, oh, that's so violent, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude,
No.
First of all, it's very rare that you're going to get hit. Or I shouldn't say that, but like you don't get hit by as many things that you weren't expecting or you completely didn't see at all as like you do in football. And also in a fight, like the most impact you could get is like someone runs into a flying knee, right? And you were going in as well, right? There's like 20 feet of force between the two of you, like running at each other.
And there's weight classes.
And there's weight classes. In football, you could have a tiny dude who gets absolutely crushed by a 350-pound monster that he didn't even see coming, and they run so fast. That is shocking. I thought you were going to say like, oh, like 4'7", something like that. But dude,
No.
like 4'5"?
Yeah, we should pull it up after.
That's shocking.
That's my guess, like 4'6", 4'5".
That is shocking to me. These guys are freak athletes. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you know off the top of your head like Patrick Mahomes 40 time?
No, but I'd say it's probably comparable.
Yeah,
probably
he's
about
like
the same.
also pretty fast, and he'd be a 205er.
Yeah, because he's probably like 220, 215.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
And football players tend to carry a little bit more fat than fighters do.
Yeah. And I mean, a 205er in the UFC is like 225.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so yeah. But I think he'd be too big to be an 85er. Although training like a fighter, maybe he would be an 85er.
That's true.
Because like Eric Anders, he was an 85er and he was a linebacker.
Oh, that's right.
He was a linebacker at Alabama.
Yeah.
So like you would change your body and stuff.
What did OSP play?
Tennessee.
What position did he play?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But it was Tennessee Volunteers.
Interesting. Okay, but back to the original question: who would be a better MMA fighter?
I'm gonna go Patrick Mahomes.
That was my answer
A lot of people
as well.
will probably be like surprised because it's like quarterback, and quarterback's known to be a soft position. But Patrick Mahomes is a tough dude. Also, I think he's both, and obviously, as it's showing, he's a 4-time AFC champion, and now he's at least 2, but might be a 3-time Super Bowl champion. They won the last 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I should know. I should know this.
I'm surprised you don't know a stat like this.
Yeah. I'm sick. I don't want to think about
See,
it.
when you told me he'd be a 205er, that's what convinced me. If you said that he could have made 170, I would have said Travis Kelce at heavyweight. But at 205,
He's athletically intelligent
Yes.
and intelligent.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So like what I'm saying by that is like the ability to like move your body, right? Like something I was told whenever I was in high school is like, you know, like there's different types there's physical intelligence, there's like there's different types of intelligence, right? That dumb jock quarterback who can throw a football 80 yards, that's intelligence. That's a physical intelligence to be able to like, do you think it's just this big bicep hucking it? No, dude, there's so much like
it's literally your
mechanical.
nervous system.
Yeah.
Like it's literally your brain, extensions of your brain that allow that to be possible.
Yeah.
You know? Like it's not like it's just muscle.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so
Also, if it was just muscle, bodybuilders would be, you know, just dominating every sport, and they clearly.
yeah, I think Pat Mahomes I think he'd beat a lot of people up.
Yeah, I agree. I think he would learn very quickly. I think that his striking would be good, and I think that because
And he's got like an edge to him too.
Yeah.
Like you see like that fourth down,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like which they bid on that play action. It was like, do you think that ball was going to be in anybody else's hands
yeah.
with the game on the Super
Right.
Bowl on the line, other than Patrick Mahomes? Like,
Yeah.
dude, come on.
That dude's belief, but also like the fact that he can learn such a complex position, like you know, being a quarterback.
Do you know
he could
he
learn
was?
jiu-jitsu real well? I think
What do you know else about Patrick Mahomes?
nothing.
Do you know he was drafted to the Major League Baseball?
Really,
Yeah,
dude, that's crazy.
yeah.
For as what?
I don't know.
Dude, that's insane.
Most quarterbacks you assume pitcher, but like he's so athletic, I could see him being something
Anything.
else.
Yeah.
But there's a handful of quarterbacks who that's the case.
Dude, he's one of those guys. I think he could have. How tall is he? Is he at least 6'2"?
I would say 6'3".
I bet he could play in the NBA too if he decided to, like, not like now, but like, you know, when he was younger.
I don't know
he was
enough
like
about basketball to like make a claim like that.
Me either. I'm just speculating here. But so what I was getting at with this is I think the best like overall athletes, whatever that means, end up in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Because of the money they get and there's less of them. So like you get a bigger share of
Yeah.
that. And you know, it's obviously just more selective in that way. And that's why I think if basketball players started transitioning to MMA, they would dominate. And they're built right to fight. You know
What's
what
the highest paid professional sport?
Probably soccer, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think it's soccer.
Yeah.
And then, what about like American sports?
Is it NBA? Or no, is it it's baseball, isn't it? Because they don't have any salary
Definitely
caps.
baseball. Definitely
Interesting.
baseball.
Are there any baseball players who you think would be like really good fighters?
I don't know.
You don't know about baseball?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
You know how every once in a while you see someone, and I'm about to give you a terrible
Do
example.
you remember Takanori Gomi?
Yeah.
Pride.
Yeah, of course.
He was a baseball player, and they say that's why he hit so hard. He was a pitcher.
Oh, that's sick.
So they would just
Just send it.
yeah.
Oh, what was I about to ask? Okay. So you know how when you see someone in another sport and you're like, that dude would be a good fighter. And I'm about to give you the worst example because it's literally another combat sport. But I remember, I've told you this a bunch of times. I was sitting in a bar. I want to say in the North Shore or something, and I was with my wife, and I was with Pogal and his girlfriend at the time, and we were watching, or NCAA Nationals was on, right?
Oh, okay.
And we were watching Bo Nickel wrestle.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember like being like, guys, look at this kid. Like, I was like, look at his style. Like the way he wrestles, I'm telling you, he would be great at MMA if he ever like transitioned. I'm telling you, because of like the fluidity he has, because of that like finishing ability that he has, that killer instinct he has. I'm telling you, that's going to translate well. And then when I saw that he was doing MMA, I was like, brother.
It's only a matter of time, boy.
Yep.
That dude, he's going to be the champ.
Final question then. So I asked you about the two specifics. On that entire field that night, who would be the best MMA fighter if they transitioned?
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm going Mahomes because I don't know.
I'm going to go Mahomes too, just because. But no, there's probably some like dudes who got some. There's probably some linebackers and like just like on like not like.
Right, there may not be like the
Their
best guy at football, but they're like, oh, dude, I've been fighting for a while. Or,
yeah, and like you know, like just like I don't know them all.
Right.
Right. That's the one thing about like I don't know like fantasy football. People know the players.
Right.
Right. Like I'm generally like an
You know the
overscope
team.
of the team. Yeah.
Yeah. You know an awful lot about football actually.
Some
people might not know this. We can go blow up the spot real quick, and then
don't. Nope.
Let's just say there's an awfully good football team in the Pittsburgh area that Mike might have played a very important position on.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. We should wrap this up.
Right on. All right. Well, that's this episode of Listen to Your Coaches. We'll catch you guys next time.